Hi everyone, welcome to a short little tutorial. This is a follow-up on our binary arithmetic, and just in case you want some extra practice on doing binary arithmetic, that's what this video is for. Okay, so if you recall from our lecture on binary arithmetic, I did do all four arithmetic operations, that is addition, multiplication, subtraction, and division, but you are only responsible for knowing how to do addition and multiplication on the assignment and on the test. Okay, so if you want to practice a little bit of that, I've got some questions here. Okay, for 4 for addition and 4 for multiplication. All right, so let's just start. Here's the first question. Okay, so it basically says add the following and check by converting the decimal. On an assignment, I'll just have the addition part, but since we're doing these together, it's kind of nice to also do the conversion because you should practice that as well. So we'll do both. Okay, all right, so how do you do these problems? Well, just like you would in regular addition, the first thing you do is you line them up such that the ones column is under the ones column. The ones column of the first number is under the ones column of the second number. I'm going to space them out a little bit so that you could see how I do the carries, and there you go. All right, so let's go ahead and add these. All right, now start with the ones column here. Okay, and you do 1 plus 1, and 1 plus 1 in binary is 0 carry 1, and I'll put the carries up here. Okay, so 1 plus 1 is 0 carry 1. 1 plus 1 is 0 carry 1. Okay, the next column, now we're in the twos column, we go 1 plus 1 plus 0. And 1 plus 1 plus 0 is the same as 1 plus 1, which is once again 0 carry 1. Okay? And now we're in the fours column. 1 plus 0 plus 1 is again 1 plus 1. That's 0 carry 1. And then finally we get 1 plus 1, and we get 0. And I guess you could say, you know, maybe there's another column over here, but that's going to be added. The blanks on the left-hand side are 0, so that would just give you a 1 over there like that. So it'd be 1 plus nothing there like that. Okay, and there's your answer. Okay, now did this work out? Let's take a look here. So the top number is converting to decimal. That's a 1, a 2. There are no 4s and an 8. Okay, so 1, a 2, no 4s and an 8. Okay, and that's equal to 11. All right, and the next one is equal to a 1, no 2s and a 4. So a 1, no 2s and a 4, and that's equal to 5. Okay, so we expect the answer to be 16, and is it? Well, let's take a look here. We have no 1s, no 2s, no 4s, no 8s, and a 16. So the answer is immediately 16, and ta-da, it worked out. Okay, so that one was an easy one to start us off. All right, let's do the next one. Okay, so the next one, we have these numbers here, and once again align them. All right, so we'll just align the first one underneath the second one. Okay, so that the ones column here aligns with the ones column there. And again, just to make it easier to see, I'm going to space these out like that. All right, and whoops, let me put my line underneath here. Okay, and let's see what we get. All right, so starting with the ones column, we have 1 plus 1 is 0. Oh, there we go. 0, oops, 0, carry 1. All right, there it is. And then we have 1 plus 0 plus 1 is 0, carry 1. And then we have 1 plus 0 plus 1 is 0, carry 1. And then we have 1 plus 1 is 0, carry 1 again. All right, carry 1. And then 1 plus 1. So I'm skipping the 0 because, again, it doesn't add anything. So 1 plus 1 is 0, carry 1. And then 1 plus 1 is 0, carry 1. Okay, and so this looks like another one of these special numbers. Let's see if this worked out. Okay, so we have a 1, no 2s, no 4s, and an 8, no 16, and a 32. Okay, so we have a 1, Once again, no 2s, no 4s, there's an 8, no 16s, and a 32. And 8 plus 32 is 40, that's 41. And now the one underneath it is, we have a 1 right there, we have a 2 right there, we have a 4, we have no 8s, and we have a 16, like that. Okay? All right, so what's that equal to? Well, that's 20, 22, 23, like that. And what's this bottom one? Well, there's no 1, no 2, no 4, no 8, no 16, no 32, and there's a 64. So this had better add up to 64, and does it? Well, 1 plus 3 is 4, so now this side is in decimal, okay? So 1 plus 3 is 4, like that, and 4 plus 2 is 6, and there you go. You've got your answer, 64, okay? So these first two were a little bit simple. Notice that you didn't have any of these situations where you had 1 plus 1 plus 1. Okay, we're going to see that in the following ones. So let's take this one here. All right, let's go over a bit. Line them up like that. Okay, put my line underneath. And I think I might be able, well, no, I better space it out. It might be a little hard on your monitor to see what's going on. Space these out. I'm just spacing these out so that it's easy to see what's going on, okay? So we start over in the ones column here, and we have 1 plus 1 is 0, carry 1. Okay, 0, carry 1. So 1 plus 1 is 0, carry 1. 1, so 1 plus 1 plus 1. Aha! It's the first time we've seen that today. It's 1, carry 1. Okay, so 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 1, carry 1. And now we're in the fourth column. 1 plus 0 is 1, carry nothing. You could put a 0 up here, or you could just leave it blank, whichever. It doesn't matter, really. Okay, so there's no carry, so 1, so nothing, plus 1 plus nothing is just 1. And again, there is no carry. And then here we have 1 plus nothing is again 1 without any carry. And then 1 plus 0 is 1 without a carry. All right, and 0 plus 1 is 1 and there's no carry. And then 1 plus 1 is 0, carry 1. Oops, there we go. Okay. All right, so let me go through that one again. You start off in the ones column, so 1 plus 1 is 0, carry 1. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 1, carry 1. 1 plus 0 is just plain old 1 with no carry. And you can put in no carry if you like. You can put in a 0 there. 0 plus 1 plus 0 is 1 with no carry. Okay. 0 plus 1 plus 0 is 1 with no carry. 0 plus 1 plus 0 is 1 with no carry. 0 plus 1 is 1 with no carry. Okay, and 0 plus 1 is 0, carry 1. Okay, and there we go. So that's your answer right there. Let's see, did it work out? So we're just going to check by converting to decimal. So there's a 1 and a 2. 1 plus 2. There is no 4. And then there's an 8, a 16, and a 32. Okay, 8 plus 16 plus a 32. Okay, once again. So there's a 1 right there. There's a 2. No 4s. You see I skipped the 4. 8, 16, 32. There's no 64. And this one would be twice 64, 128. Okay? So let's make sure I did that right. That's 1, 2, no 4, 8, 16, 32, no 64, and 128. Let's see what that adds up to. So I've got to use my calculator for that. And that gives me 187 in decimal, like that. All right, okay. What about the bottom number? Well, let's see here. We have a 1 and a 2. 1 plus 2, no 4s, no 8s, no 16, no 32, a 64 and a 128. 64 and 128 like that. And let's see what that's equal to. I'll do that on my calculator again. So you can't see me using my calculator, but I am. All right, 195 like that. And finally, let's see what the answer is. Let's convert the answer to decimal and see what that works out to. Okay, so here we have no ones, a 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, and 64. So we have a 2, 4, and 8, 16, a 32, and this is that right? So there's a 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, and there's also 64. Okay, there's no, that would be 128, right? Because it's twice 64. And twice 128 is 256. So there's a 256 in there. Okay, so it might, when it gets a little bit large like that, you might start to get lost. So you know what? I'm gonna just show you here. This column right here, that's the ones column. The next one here is the 2s. The next one here is the 4s. Actually, let me put it closer underneath. Okay, so there's the 4, there's the 8, there's the 16. Spacing is going to get messed up. Okay, that's good enough though. The next one would be 32. The next one would be 64. This one is 128. Okay, 128 like that. All right, and then you say, well, what's after 128? If that's 128, twice 128 is 256. So that one is in the 256 column. Okay, so what does this add up to? It adds up to 382. Okay, now does 187 plus 195 equal 382? Let me check on my calculator here. It better, otherwise there's something wrong. So 187 plus 195 equals 382. Okay, so great, it worked out. Okay, so there you go. There's a larger number. And then finally, I've got a really, really large number. Okay, and you should be able to add to really, really large numbers. I don't think I'll go more than this many digits. It just gets excessive. And even if I did, you know, it's only, you know, I'm only going to expect you to add, not convert. The converting part gets a little bit hard because when you get to the higher digits, you know, you're 128 there, then 256, 512, and it starts to get a little bit crazy trying to keep track of, you know, just which column you're in. So, okay, let me space these out again. Okay. So what did I do? I start off by aligning them, just like you would in, you know, if you're adding them in decimal. And then let's start over in the ones column, and we have 1 plus 1 is 0, carry 1. All right, so there's our first addition. 1 plus 1 is 0, carry 1. And then you have 1 plus 0 plus 1 is 0, carry 1. Then you have 1 plus 1 plus 0 is 0, carry 1. Then you have 1 plus 0 plus 1, 0, carry 1. Then you have 1 plus 1 plus 1, which is 1, carry 1. 1 plus 1 plus 0, 0, carry 1. 1 plus 1 plus 0, 0, carry 1. 1 plus 1 plus 1, 1, carry 1. 1 plus 0 plus 1, 0, carry 1. And then 1 plus 1 plus 0 is 0, carry 1, and that's your last digit, so there's nothing. Okay, so there you go. There's our answer. And you might say, and lots of carries. By the way, you'll notice that in a lot of binary arithmetic, there's going to be a lot of carries. Like this one was kind of intentionally a special case, but you would expect that roughly half of these would be carries. Okay, here they're all carries. Here there's all that have carries. So I contrived these a little bit to give to give a little less carries over here. But normally speaking, a little extra carries here. But normally speaking, you would expect maybe every other addition to yield a carry of 1, okay? And that's not like a decimal where you don't get carried that often, but in binary you definitely get carried quite a bit. Okay, let's convert this. There's a 1, no 2, there's a 4, no 8, there's a 16, 32, 64, and 128. So I lost track already. So let's see, there's a 1, there's a 2, 4, 8. So we go from 16 plus 32 plus 64 plus 128. Okay, so there's our 1 there like that, and there's our 4, there's no 8, there's our 16, there's our 32, oops, 64 is right here, 128, okay. After 128 is 256, but there's no 256, and after 256, that would be twice 256, and that's 512. Okay, so 512, all right? So let me just check that very quickly because, like I said, it gets a little hard when you've got this many digits, okay? So let's see, there's a 1, no 2s, there's a 4, no 8, there's a 16, 32, 64, 128, no 256, and a 512. Okay, so what's that add up to? That adds up to 757. Okay, so this number right here, binary 1011110101, is the same as decimal 757. Okay, next one, let's convert that one. So we've got a 1 and a 2. There's no 4, an 8 and a 16. Okay, so let's see here, a 1, a 2, no 4s, an 8, a 16, no 32, no 64, a 128, and a 256. Okay, so one more time. There's a 1, there's a 2, no 4s, there's an 8, a 16, no 32, no 64, a 128, and a 256. And let's see what that adds up to. All right, let me do that on my calculator very quickly. All right, that's 411. All right, and then finally, let's take a look at our answer here. No 1s, 2s, 4s, or 8s. The first one is a 16 right there. Okay, so that's the 1s, 2s, 4, 8. None of those. There's a 16. No 32, 64. There's a 128. And then I think the last one is a 1024. Let me see here. 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, 1024. So that last one is 1024, like that. Okay, and again, if you're doing this on your own, you might get lost. You might have to start writing like the column values underneath them. Okay, so like 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, that's pretty simple. 32, 64, 128, now it's getting a little harder. You say, well, what's the next one? Twice 128, what's that? That's 256. And you say, well, what's the next one? Twice 256. So twice 256 is 512, and then what's twice 512? That's 1024. Okay, and what's that equal to? Let me work that out very quickly. And it is 1,168. Okay, now if this all worked, it should be the case that if you take 757 and you add 411 to it, you should get 1,168, and you do. I just checked that on my calculator. Okay, so there you go. The only thing that happens, you should get the hang of this. The only thing that happens as you get the bigger and bigger number is it just gets more tedious, and so you should be able to add as large as you want, but it just gets a little bit tedious as you keep going to more and more columns. works, okay? Especially in converting, as you can see. All right, I think that's enough for addition. Let's do multiplication. Let's start off with this one here, okay? And so for multiplication, same thing. Start off by aligning the numbers, okay? And there we go. And again, I'm going to space them out just so it's a little easier to see, okay? And how does this work? So there's two parts to multiplication. First, you multiply by each bit in the second number, and then you add up. Okay, and if there are 2 bits in the second number, then there should be 2 rows below the line. Oops, like this. All right. If there are 3 bits like that, well, then there should be 3 rows, 4 rows, and 4 rows, and so on. Okay. Now, when you multiply by that bit, you're basically taking this entire number and multiplying it by 0. And if you want to do it in order from right to left, you would go 0 times 1 is 0. Okay. So how did I get that? 0 times 1 is 0. 0 times 1 is 0, but that one aligns over here, and then you would go 0 times 1 is 0 over here, like that. In fact, up to this point, you can almost think of this as decimals, okay? It isn't, it's binary, because they're just ones and zeros, but you know what? It's the same multiplication that you're doing in decimal, okay? Because basically you're saying, look, if I have no ones, I've got nothing. If I got no ones, I've got nothing. If you've got no ones here, you've got nothing. Okay, and so that 0 times those 3 ones there just gives you 3 zeros like that, all aligned with the ones column. Okay, and then you're into the next column. You start over here. You start in the 2's column for the next one right there, and you go, why do I start in the 2's column? Because that 1 there is in the 2's column. So you go 1 times 1, and you put a 1 in the 2's column. Okay, like that. Then you go 1 times 1, and that's a 1 in the next column over, and then 1 times 1 is a 1 in that column over, like that. Okay, and now you've exhausted both bits of the second number. What do you do next? You just add these. Okay, and now over here, 0 plus that blank there is 0. This blank right here is 0. Okay, so 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. And then blank plus 1 is 1, like that. Okay, and there's your answer. All right. Now, these ones you should just have memorized. So that one, 1, 1, 1, you should know is 7. Okay, and 1, 0, you should know as 2. And if you do this one, 1, 1, 1, 0, you should know that that one is 14. And so is it the case that 7 times 2 is 14? And the answer is yes. And so it worked. Okay, now let me show you something about this multiplication. So switch for a minute to decimal. So let's pretend that we're multiplying decimal here. You have 365 and you multiply it by 10, okay? So now this is decimal. The second number here is decimal. That really is the number 10. In fact, I'm even going to say here decimal, okay? What would that equal? Well, whenever you multiply by 10, what do? You just tack on a 0. So that would be 3,650, okay? So you have 365. You multiply it by 10, you just tack on a 0, okay? Effectively, what you're doing when you multiply by 10 is you take all of the numbers that are in like the ones column and you shift them into the tens column. So that 5, which was in the ones column, winds up in the tens column. That 6, which was in the tens column, now winds up in the hundreds column. This 3 that was in the hundreds column now winds up in the thousands column, and so on, okay? And that's why that works. Also, if you had like, I don't know, 787 and you multiply it by 100, what are you going to get? Well, all you do is you just take 787 and you just tack on 2 zeros, okay? What you're doing here is basically that 7, when you multiply it by 100, just puts it into the hundreds column. So 7, this is 7 100ths, and there it is, 7 100ths, okay? And then the 8 there, that one was in the tens column, but now it winds up in the thousands column, 2 places over. It was over here, but you move it 2 places over. And then finally that 7 there, like that, okay? So you know this, like, from, just multiplying plain old decimal. I'm sure you've seen that pattern before. But now let's switch to binary, and suppose we have 1 1 1 multiplied by 1 0. Okay? And you say, well, what's that equal to? Well, we have the answer. It's 1 1 1 0. And you go, oh, look at that. Multiplying by 1 0 just means taking 1 1 1 and tacking a 0 on the end. Okay? And you go, well, okay, how does that work? So 1 0 in binary is this many fingers, right? It's 2, okay? And that means you're doubling the whole number. And when you double the number, that 1, which was in the ones column, winds up in the 2's column because you've doubled it. And then that one, which was in the 2's column, double it, winds up there in the 4's column. And that one, which was in the 4's column, now winds up in the 8's column. So basically, all this does is it doubles the number, okay? But to double a number in binary, you just shift it over to the left, because as soon as you move from a column to the right to the left, you're basically moving to a column which is twice as big, okay? And that's how you basically double numbers in binary, okay? And of course, if you had something like, I don't know, I'll just make up another number here, 1001, and you multiply it by 1000 like that, well, this one should be, again, trivial. It's just basically this number here, but just tack a couple of zeros on the end, okay? And you say, well, why does that work? Well, because that 1 multiplied by 100, remember that's 4, so you're quadrupling it. So that 1 multiplied by 100 just moves it from there to the 4's column. In other words, it moves it from the 1's column here to the 4's column. And that 0 gets moved over to the 8's column right there. And then that 0 moves from the 8's column to the 16's. And that 1 moves from the 8's columns to the 32, okay, because you're quadrupling everything. And there you go, okay? Now, if you were to convert this into decimal, just that second one, okay? So you say, what does that look like in decimal? Well, you should know all those numbers. 1001 is 9 multiplied by 100, which is 4, okay? And so this number, is that going to equal this number here? Let's see here. So that's the 1's column. That's the 2's column. There's the 4's column. So in your answer, you should have a 4. And then, so that was the 4's column. That's the 8 right here. 16 and 32. Okay. So there's 32. And you say, okay, so what is 4 plus 32? That's 36. And did that work? Is 4 times 9? Oh, sorry, 9 times 4. Is 9 times 4 equal to 36? It is. And so this basically converts into decimal to that, okay? This middle piece there, I just did that to show you how, I have a 4 here and I have a 32 to give you the total of 36. But basically, what we did in this multiplication here in binary is equivalent to 9 times 4 equals 36 in decimal, okay? So there you go. So if you add a 0 to the end of a number, you're basically doubling it, okay, in binary. And that's like multiplying by 10, all right? If you add 2 zeros, that's like quadrupling it, and that's like multiplying by 100. If you want to increase it by a factor of 8, then you multiply it by 1000, okay, and so on. Right? Oh, sorry, 100. No, that's 4. 1000. Okay, get lost with the zeros. Okay, all right. Let's do another one which is less trivial. Okay, so we've got this number here. All right, let me put some spaces there. Multiplied by this number right here. Okay, and there we go. Okay, so let's see how that one works. Well, basically, I think you've got the pattern here. When you multiply by that 1, you just get that top number reflected back. Okay, so there it is. So 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 0 is 0, and 1 times 1 is 1. So if you have a 1 there, okay, in the 1's column of the second number, you just get that entire first number reflected. If you've got 0 there, what do you get? Well, 0 times 1 is 0, 0 times 1 is 0, 0 times 0 is 0, 0 times 1 is 0. So all you get now, in this case, is all zeros here. So basically, it's like a placeholder, all right? The only thing you have to be careful is that because that 0 is in the 2's column, this whole thing has to be shifted 1 column to the left, okay? Because it has to start off in the 2's column. And now you've got a 1 there, and so what happens? You get that entire number reflected back. And whoops, you align that, okay? This one's in the 4's column, so you have to start in the 4's column there. And now you are ready to add. And hopefully I won't run out of room here. No, I won't, okay? So 1 plus here there's a blank, okay? And then here there's also a blank, okay? So 1 plus nothing is 1. Right, there we go. So that's 1 there. 1 plus 0 there like that is also 1. Like that. And then 0 plus 1 is 1 here like that. And then 1 plus 0 plus 1 is 0, carry 1. I'm going to put the carries, this may seem a little strange, I'm going to put the carry right here, okay? All right, so this is where my carries are. Okay, so once again, 1 plus 0 plus 1 is, whoops, almost made a mistake, 0, okay, carry 1, there's my carry. And then 0 plus 1 is just 1. And then there's a 1 there like that. Okay, let me do this again just to make sure, because I got a little confused there. So that's 1. There it is. 1 plus 0 is 1. No carry. 0 plus 0 plus 1 is 1. No carry. 1 plus 1 is 0. Carry 1. And then 0 plus 0 plus 1 is 1. And then there's just that 1 there like that. Okay, and so there's our answer. Did it work? Well, let's convert this number. You should know that number memorized because it's less than 16. So what is that number? That number is decimal 11. Okay, a 1 and a 2 is 3, plus an 8 is 11. Okay. By the way, just a little bit of an aside here. Be careful. If I type that number there like that, 1, 1, is that decimal or is that binary? And you have to be careful because it could be either. All right. It could be binary 1, 1, but it could also, in other words, it'd be this much, right? So 1, 1 binary would be this many fingers. Okay. Or it could be actually 11 decimal. All right. In which case it would be more fingers than I have on both of my hands together. Okay. So it might seem a little bit confusing. Generally speaking, when you're doing these and you know that you're converting, get rid of that. You're converting, then usually the way we've been converting, I've been very careful about it. I've had on the left-hand side, I have the binary number, and on the right-hand side, I have the decimal number. So you tend not to get confused, okay? And so over here, what's that number? Well, 101 you should have memorized as 5. So this bottom number had better be 5 times 11, which is 55. But is it? Well, let's go. Let's go through it and convert. So there's a 1 plus, there's a 2 plus, there's a 4. Okay. No 8s, a 16 and a 32. Okay, a 16 plus a 32. And let's see here. So 16, 4 and 16, that's 20. That would, and then 32 is going to bring us up to 52, 53, 54, and 55. And it works out. Okay? So basically 1011 multiplied by 101 is equal to 110111, okay? And that's just the binary part of it. The decimal equivalent is 11 times 5, which should equal 55. Okay, so that one worked out. All right, let's do the next one. And I think I better put this out further from the edge because I don't want to run out of room here. Okay. Okay, and I think I have to move it. Yeah, I have. Oh, there we go. All right. So there it is aligned. All right. There it is aligned. All right. So aligned, the ones column from the first number has to align with the ones column from the second number. Okay. And be careful here. So let's take a look at a pattern here. The first one, the second number had 2 bits in it, and so you get 2 rows here. This question, we had 3 bits and in the second number, so you get 3 rows below the line. Okay, remember that one was the carry. Okay, so that doesn't count. But basically here, 3 bits, so 3 rows. And so how many rows do you expect here? You actually expect 4. Okay, why? Well, that'll lead to a row. Sorry, that one will lead to a row. That'll lead to another row. That'll lead to another row. That'll lead to the last row for a total of 4 rows. Okay, now multiply the top number by 1. You just get the top number reflected. There it is. Okay, so 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 0 is 0. And so on. Okay, I think you got the idea by now. All right. The next one is you're going to multiply the top number by zeros, but that's going to turn all of these into zeros. Okay, so it's kind of like this. Do this. Put it down there. So, but all of these are now turned into zeros. Okay. And the other thing is that it has to align with the 2's column. Because that 0 is in the 2's column, okay, when we multiply this all by zeros, you're just going to get zeros as placeholders, but starting in the 2's column. Okay. Same thing with that 0. You're going to get all zeros for these, but starting in the 4's column. So we'll get this, but now it's going to start in the 4's column. So there it is. Okay. So 0 times 1 is 0. 0 times 1 is this 0 there. 0 times 0 is that 0 there. Okay. So basically, there's that entire number there, starting in the 4's column, but with all zeros in each of the places, okay? And then finally, we're going to multiply that entire number with 1, but now we have to align it with the 8's column. So that would be like that, okay? So 1 times 1, because that 1's in the 8's column, you start there, okay? And there you go. That is the first that's just the multiplication by each of the bits without adding them, okay? So again, notice 4 rows here. Why 4 rows? Because there are 4 bits there. Each bit here, that bit led to that row, that bit leads to that row, that bit leads to that row, and that bit leads to that row like that, okay? Now what? Well, now we add. Okay. And remember, any blanks here, like there's a blank right there, that counts as a 0. And there's another blank there like that, that counts as a 0. And there's another blank there like that, that counts for a 0, okay? So 1 plus blank plus blank plus blank is going to equal 1, okay? So that takes care of the 1's column, adding the 1's column. And then the next one is just 1 with 0, and that blank again is like a 0, and then another 0, so that basically just gives you 1 with no carry, okay? And then 0, 0, 0, and blank, which is another 0, so 4 zeros. If you add 4 zeros together, you get 0. Okay, and I'm gonna do the same thing I did above. This is going to be my carry right here. This row here is just for the carries. Okay, so now we're in the 8's column. Okay, so we go 1 plus 0 plus 0 plus 1. Okay, and that's basically just like 1 plus 1, and 1 plus 1 is 0 carry 1. Okay. So once again, 1 plus 1 is 0 carry 1. All right. And now in the next column over, we have, again, a 1 plus 1, which is going to give me a 0 carry 1. Like that. All right. And then I'm going to have a bunch of zeros there, which I skip, and 1. So I basically have 1 plus 1 is another 0 carry 1. And then we're going to have another 1 plus 1, which is another 0 carry 1. And then 0 plus 0 plus 1 is a 1 with no carry. And no carry, I can just leave blank. And 1 plus nothing is 1. And there's the answer. Okay? So, did it work? Well, let's convert to decimal and see. So this top one is 1 plus 2 plus no 4 is 8 plus no 16 and a 32. Okay, let me go through that. So there's a 1. Right there. There's a 1. There's a 2. No 4s. There's an 8. There's no 16s and a 32. Okay? All right. So what's that equal to? Well, that's equal to 32 plus 8 is 40, 42, 44. 43. Like that. Okay? So we have 32 and 8 is 40, 42, and 43. The bottom number you should have memorized, it is 9. Oops, 9 like that, okay? And if you don't remember that, that's an 8 and a 1, so 9, okay? And now the last number here, or the last number, the answer. Let's see if that worked out. So that one is going to be a 1 and a 2, right? A 1 and a 2, no 4, no 8, no 16, no 32, no 64. That's 128. So we have a 128 plus a 256. That one's in the 256 column. Okay. And what's that equal to? Well, bring up my calculator and see. $387. Did it work out? Let me see here. So 43 multiplied by 9 is equal to, yay, 387. Okay, so in decimal, if you take 43 and you multiply it by 9, you get 387. the equivalent of that operation in binary is 101011, 43, multiplied by 1001, 9, gives you as an answer 11000011. Okay, so there you go. Multiplication worked out. Last one, and then we are done. Okay, so align these. Let's see how far I went over here. Yeah. Okay. All right, there we go. They're aligned. Okay, so that's your first step, is aligning them. What's your next step? Well, the next step is you multiply this entire top number by 0. So what do you get? Well, basically, you get the number reflected, but they're all zeros now. So because 0 times 1 is 0, and then 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 0. Okay, so all the numbers here, just convert them all to zeros. If they're zeros, they stay zeros, and if they're ones, they turn to zeros, and then that number is reflected there. Okay, so that's multiplying it by that. What about the next one? Well, that's in the 2's column, so you get that entire number there, but now moved over into the 2's column. Okay, from that one. This one's in the 4's column, so you're multiplying the entire number by 0 and putting that answer in the 4's column. So there it is. All right, so you see that's in the 4's column, and it aligns with that one. Okay, and then finally you multiply the entire number again, but now you're in the 8's column. So that's basically this number again, but now aligned in the 8's column. All right, so hopefully I didn't go too fast. So that's 0 times the entire number. That turns the entire number into zeros and starts in the 1's column. Then you multiply by 1, so you just get the entire number without changing anything. And that starts in the 2's column right there. Okay. Then you multiply by 0 again, so you get the entire number, but everything's converted into 0, starting in the 4's column. And finally, you have the entire number multiplied by 1 in the 8's column. So there's the entire number again, but starting in the 8's column because that 1 is in the 8's column. Great. Last step, add all 4 columns. And notice 4 bits here, 4 rows there like that. Okay, so that's a blank, that's a blank, and that's a blank there like that. So 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0, there like that. That's going to equal 0. Okay, so that's 0. So 0 plus 1 is right there. 1 is going to give you 1. Okay, and then 0 plus 0 plus 0 is going to give you 0. And 0 plus 1 plus 0 plus 1 is 0. Carry 1. So I'm going to put the carries. I'll put the carries right down here. All right, so there it is. So once again, 0 plus 1 plus 0 plus 1. That's just like 1 plus 1 is 0. Carry 1. And notice you have all zeros here except for that 1. And so that's just equal to 1 with no carry. And then we've got a bunch of zeros again in a 1. And that there's no carry from the previous one, so that's just a 1 there like that. And then 1, 0, 0, so that's just a 1. And then a bunch of zeros added together, that's just a 0 from there like that. And then finally a 1 there like that. Okay, so that's how I added them. All right, not too many carries here, it was just this row here had a carry. So 1 plus 1 is 0, carry 1. And the rest of them just had, you know, with just straight additions without any carries. All right, did it work? All right, so let's see here. So we've got a 1, a 4, right? No 2's, a 4, no 8's, no 16's, and a 32. 32. Okay, so what's that equal to? 32 and 4 is 36, and 1 is 37. All right, and then the next number is, you should have this one memorized, okay? If you don't, it's an 8 plus a 2. It's an 8 plus a 2. Or decimal 10. Decimal 10. So you know that if you take 37 and multiply by 10, you should get 370. So this number had better convert to 370. Let's see if it does. No 1's, there's a 2. Okay, there's a 2. No 4's, no 8's, there's a 16. a 32, and a 64. No 128. All right, but there is a 256. Okay, let's go through that again. No ones, there's a 2. That's that 2 there. Okay, no 4s, no 8s, there's a 16. There it is. 16. 32. 64. Skip 128, and after 128 is 256. There it is. And what's that equal to? I bet you it's equal to 370, but I'm going to do it on my calculator just to check. And I turned off my calculator. 1 second. Okay. And yeah, there it is. As expected, it is 370. Okay. And so there you go. A bunch of additions, a bunch of multiplications, and converting them into decimal for practice and also just to verify. All right. So that's it for our tutorial. Bye-bye.